what's the best ad structure for bigger budget, especially doing webinars targeting the whole Malaysia? When it comes to the ad structure, very simple, all right? First thing first, let's talk about the budget structure. Okay, we usually spend 80% on the top of funnel because it's really important for us to keep bringing more and more new people into the funnel itself so that our retargeting can work. So we will not spend more than 20% on retargeting. So basically, that's the basic structure at the in the first place. Now, the second thing we need to look into here is how much are you spending? Let's say if you're talking about bigger budget, how big is big? I have a client who is spending about $1,000 to $2,000 US per day. So for that kind of campaign, first we will need to find out what is the budget ceiling for the ad set level, because for some reason, okay, there is a budget ceiling in your campaign structure in your ad set level. So let's say, for example, some of my clients, we realize the moment we scale over $300, everything is going to break. For some reason, I mean, I'm not saying that the audience is not big. Look, we're targeting the entire United States. We're talking about hundreds of millions of people. So it's really a big market. But yet again, when we scale over $300, we start getting crappy stuff. And the whole thing will go really bad. And you have to remember, when an ad set or a campaign goes into the wrong direction, it's very difficult for us to come back to the right direction. So we need to actually kind of like figure out that thing. So let's say if the $300 is our cap. So if you want to spend $1,000 a day, that means we will spend about $800 at the top of funnel, which means we will need to have at least 3 ad sets. So when we have 3 ad sets, the next question would be, if you want to actually kind of like, let's say each ad set has got multiple ads, for example, I don't care. It really depends, right? So we need to have at least 3 ad sets. But then again, we also need to find out what are the variables that we can control over here. Say, for example, if you want to spend 60% on IG, 40% on Facebook, for example, and we want to break into different ad set or for different gender or different location. So that allows us to even break the ad sets into different segments. As in, like, I would have one ad set targeting Facebook, one ad set targeting IG, and then basically another ad set targeting certain states, and the other one targeting certain specific age group, for example. So that's how we break. And then eventually, when we have a lot of variables to control, then eventually each of the ad sets will become a lot, smaller in budget. But we are still scaling, like having a big one. So it really depends on how you want to scale your campaign in the most effective way. But then again, that's what we usually do, right? We would have to control. We need to find out what are the variables that we want to control. That's how we build the ad set. So that's how we build the top of funnel. And when it comes to retargeting, it really depends on, first thing first, what is your retargeting journey? Do you need a sequential retargeting? Say, for example, you want to send a series of messages once a person land on your website. For the next 7 days, you want to tell them something, right? And then after that, for the next 7 days, means on day 8 to 14, you want to tell them some and another key messages to help you hopefully convert them. Or you have multiple layers. Like one of my clients who is doing a very niche business whereby they don't just want to get people to opt in to the ebook, but once they opt into the ebook, they want to get them to complete a so-called survey, which is a very long questionnaire. So after, they will only consider a lead as a lead after they're completing the questionnaire. So we will have another retargeting, targeting those people who have converted into a lead, which is after opting to the ebook, and then we will send different message to convert these people in. So that's really how we will structure according to the business need. So I wouldn't be able to just give you a so-called the best structure for so-called bigger budget. I do not, because first thing first, I mean, with all due respect, I do not know how big is your budget overall. But then again, it's really about building the most so-called optimized strategy for your campaign. There's no right or wrong here, but it really depends, because if you have been running ads for a while, then we are able to dive in and look at a lot of information about the campaign, right? Like, for example, we will be able to know which age group works better. And, after matching with the client's information, we know that, we get a lot of better audiences coming from 35 to 54, for example, and we want to zoom in. But when we zoom in, how do we structure the campaign? All these are the questions that we'll be asking when we are trying to build a structure. So yeah, so that's my quick answer to you. But then again, if you want a better way to do this, I would say maybe we can start with an audit first. So I assume that you definitely know your stuff, right? So basically, the first thing I would recommend you to do is let's have a quick audit on your campaign. And from there, we are able to kind of like map out a potential optimized structure that may work better for your campaign, because after we analyze the campaign, we'll be able to uncover, like, for example, which platform works better. Is it Facebook or IG? You see, I have a lot of clients who is doing better on IG, but they spend so little money on IG. That's the reason why we break off another ad set on IG, which is totally a common thing. So yeah, I mean, of course, we talk about age group, we talk about gender, we talk about location. All these are the questions that we will ask, and that's how we draw all this information to map our top of funnel. So those are the things that we do. So yeah, if you need help, right, I would say if you want to have a more meaningful discussion, I would definitely need to dive into your campaign, especially with the data and all that. Let's at least have a 7-day data to be able to make it, to make it optimized. Then we are able to draw and build a plan that might take your campaign to the next level. So if that's something that you're looking for, scan this QR code, and I look forward to work with you.